Hi, I'm Doug from Dynamic Computing and welcome to episode 178 of 10-Minute Amiga Retrocast. Okay, so I haven't done a video since August and it's now November. Yeah, you remember how earlier this year there were a couple of months that I couldn't get any videos done because I was so unbelievably busy with work and with things at the house. Well, kind of happened again. Starting in August, my business just absolutely went crazy and it seemed like all my weekends were taken up, and then things with the houses came up, lots of cool things with our houses that we own, some rentals that we own, and I'll tell you about those in the future. One of them, just a little hint, is got me a new studio that's being built right now. Also, little distraction, my beautiful stepdaughter Tian Tian had a beautiful baby boy on October 28th. And here's a picture of little Raymond right now. We call him Ray Ray or Raymond. He's just absolutely adorable. Happy and healthy little baby. Born 7 pounds, maybe 2 or 3 ounces. Now he's like 8.5, almost 9 pounds. And this is just after like 25, 26 days. So that was a bit of a distraction. I was out of town for a few days because of that. It's been crazy, but I'm hoping to be able to get back on track. I'm really forcing myself to get back on track to doing consistent videos 3 to 4 times a month. Now that that's over, what did I want to talk about today? Well, to be honest, what I wanted to talk about today was this cool little device that I picked up at Amy West 2024. This is the ReSDMAC. This is a Super DMAC replacement for our Amiga 3000s. Now, we know a lot of Amiga 3000s came with a Super DMAC 2, which had some timing issues. It had some compatibility issues with accelerators. So the Super DMAC 4 came out, and that helped dramatically. That helped solve a lot of problems. But the Super DMAC 4 is really hard to get a hold of, and when you find one, they're horribly expensive. So these guys came out with the cool little idea of creating the equivalent of a Super DMAC 4. It's kind of a hybrid of the 3 and the 4. We're going to get into more details about this. I promise. We're going to do a whole video on this. But what happened was, while I was getting ready to shoot this video and plug this little guy in, my Amiga 3000 started acting really dumb. Now this, as you guys may know, is a re-Amiga, which means it's the new implementation of an Amiga 3000 motherboards. Chucky Hertel was really involved in it. I actually got this board direct from him, and it's been pretty stable since my first fiasco, which you'll see a link to right up there with my first re-Amiga board. The second board has been pretty darn stable, and I've been pretty happy with it. But when I turned it on today, I started getting the flashing yellow screen. Rebooted it, it would come up okay. Like right now, working absolutely fine. I'm having no issues with it. It's working full speed, a 25 megahertz machine. But she crashes, and she crashes fairly frequently and gives me a blinkety-blinky yellow screen. Now, screen colors, error messages in the Amiga world, well, they could mean a lot of different things. Yellow on an Amiga 3000, I believe, is often an issue with the ROM, where it's not reading the ROM properly. So that's what I'm going to look at first. Why don't we go ahead and pop this little thing open. We'll talk about what's inside of it, and we'll see if we can stabilize this Amiga 3000 so I can actually do a show on the ReSDMAC. Come along with me. Let's pop it open. We'll start with a little tour. In place of a actual SCSI hard drive, I have from Rabbit Hole Computing a nice Zulu SCSI RP2040. These are absolutely fantastic little devices that replace your SCSI. He's got some cool external ones that I'm going to do a video on soon. Original Amiga 3000 power supply. A little bit noisy, but other than that, it actually works pretty good. Floppy works great. Now over here on the side, I have the Sunrise AD16 audio board. Now this is a 16-bit audio board that you can actually mix with the onboard Paula audio. Gives you absolutely incredible audio quality, has a nice AHI interface for playing back Amiga audio right through the board. Absolutely love it. And inside of here, I also have one of the VLab video capture cards that actually captures still pictures from live video, which is cool. And I've got a USB adapter in here, so I can use actual USB on here. And I did a video on that right up there in the corner. So that gives you an idea of the physical hardware that I have plugged into this. Let's go ahead and pop the top off and see if we can find any problems internally. Here you can see, this is the ReAmiga, reverse engineered by John Chucky Hertel. All right, I have no accelerator card in here at this point in time, although I'm thinking of one that I'm going to put in here. You can see we've got the Ramsey chip here. This is an 04 Ramsey. We've got the 6882. We have the 68030 running at 25 megahertz right here. Here we've got our Buster chip. This is Buster 11, so this is one of the nicer Busters here. And we've got Fat Gary. This is an 02. And then we have the DMAC here, which is the chip that ultimately we're going to replace with a little hoodinkus that I showed you briefly. But I'd really rather replace it into a stable system and not an unstable system. Now, what could make this little thing unstable? Well, if some of these chips are not tight in here, that could absolutely do it. So the first thing I want to do is make sure all of our little chips are snug as a bug in a rug. This is our memory right here. This is 16 megabytes of fast RAM. You see on the ReAmiga board, it uses the SIM slots instead of the zip, which is kind of nice. Now this does have one drawback, and that is that when you use them with these SIM slots, the 030 cannot work in its special little burst mode like it can with the proper sized static zips. And the downfall of that is you lose about 10% speed that you could theoretically have if you have the static zips and you have a 68030 in here. But, you know, it's a reasonable compromise. Now, here's my ROM chips right here. Now, these should be, I think these are 3.2 ROMs. I don't think they're 3.2.1. I think they're 3.2 ROMs. I had an issue with the ROMs I got from my good friends at amigastore.eu. I used them in this board. They're 3.2 ROMs. I used them for a couple of months, and they absolutely flaked out, and guess what they did? They caused a yellow screen. So I replaced them. I'm trying to think where these are from. They might be from Retro Rewind, but gosh, I don't remember 100%. There's no sticker on them. Now, I know some of you are panicking because the little erasure things are not covered here, and yes, I should put a little piece of tape over them, but no, the light in my room is not going to erase the ROMs, and when the thing's covered up, it's totally dark in there anyways. This is really what I'm concerned about here. Now, I want to see if I have any other ROMs that I can stick in here and test out. Even if they're just 3.1 ROMs, I'm perfectly happy with those. Those will function. But let's see if we can get this stable by replacing the ROMs. I've got a foam board of chips where I keep all of my extra and spare dip chips and ROMs and things like that. They just stick right to this foam board, and then I just tuck it away and get them when I need them. Now, I have some 3.1.4 ROMs here, which would work absolutely fine with 3.2.1. I'm not going to have any issues because it'll just take a little longer to boot. Problem is, the label's peeled off, and I honestly don't remember if they're ROMs from my 3000 or ROMs from my 4000. I honestly don't remember. Now, I don't think it would hurt if I tried them and they didn't work. I don't think it'd be a big bother. But look what else I found here. I found Kickstart 3.2 ROMs. these are the ones from Retro Rewind. They have a label. Now my unlabeled ones, where are they from? I don't remember. Somebody must have made them for me. But I'm going to try these ROMs out. We're going to boot it up and we're going to see if we can make the system crash. So let's go ahead and stick these little guys in here. Now this is for Chris Edwards here. What you want to do is you want to get your sharpest flat blade screwdriver and just dig those around. Just push them in and just dig down like that and rip those traces up at the bottom here. No, don't really do that. That would be really bad. I've got a little plastic spudger here that I'm hoping will do the job to get under just enough and pull those ROMs up. Yeah, I got a little capacitor here. I have to keep an eye on them. We'll put that there. Now, one of the things about the Amiga board that's such a lifesaver is the ROMs are labeled high and low. And they're not particularly labeled on all Amiga 3000 boards, the originals. So you'd pull your ROMs out and you'd be like, wait, which was the high and which was the low? And you'd have to cross-reference the numbers again and figure it out. So it's nice that Chucky has those labels. We're going to go ahead and put the new ROMs in. Here's our little low friend. And here is our little high friend. We got our new ROMs in there. Maybe this will solve our yellow screen problem. Maybe this will make things worse. I'm going to do one more check over here, make sure that everything is in place properly. Of course, it could always be the power supply that's causing the problem too. And I do have an alternate solution. I do have one of Amiga Kit's adapters that allows you to use a standard ATX power supply with an Amiga 3000. In some ways I want to do it because those power supplies are quieter. In other ways, it's kind of nice to use the original. So, you know, it's just nice that I have options. Let me get this put back together just enough so we can power it up and see if she's reliable. Okay, so we've got the new ROMs put in here. I have the case put back together enough where I can boot it up. Let's see if she explodes. We get the power light. Blinkety, blinkety, blinkety. And look, beautiful yellow flashing screen. So that tells me it's very possibly not the ROMs specifically that are the problem. Let's dig a little bit deeper. Now this is curious. I just said let's dig a little bit deeper, and I went to turn around. I turned off the camera, went to turn around, and the yellow screen stopped. And it booted just fine. It booted up absolutely perfectly. No flaws, no errors whatsoever so far. So that is really curious. That is really, really curious why it would decide to stop the yellow screen. You know, usually when you get a yellow screen on an Amiga, that's it. It ain't gonna boot till you power it off and maybe try it again. But just going from yellow screen to booting properly, very curious. Let's run a few tests and see if we can get it to crash again. We're just gonna, I can usually get it to crash when I run some of the sysinfo tests. So we'll do the speed test, see how that goes. And I'm fairly certain it's not anything with the installation of Amiga OS, because the yellow screen is absolutely immediate. The computer boots up, or it turns on, the green power light starts flashing, yellow screen immediately. It doesn't even try to boot from the hard drive yet. So I'm pretty sure we're dealing with a hardware issue. But I can't get it to crash. Let's try a couple of reboots and see how those work. This is just going to be the old Amiga Control reboot, and we're going to see if it boots up properly or if it gives me a yellow screen. Seems to be booting fine. Hard drive's flashing perfectly. System comes up normally. We're going to try complete power down, and we'll wait a few seconds and power it back up. Okay, disk activity stopped. Power off. Now, I've always read that when you power down an Amiga, you should give it 14 seconds before you turn it back on, and that allows the RAM memory to completely, become unpowered and not store anything in it. So if there's anything corrupted in RAM, it's gone after 14 seconds. That could be a wives' tale, a fairy tale, but I've always done it. This boot up, so far we're getting flashy lights and absolutely perfect boot so far. Now, of course, I could blame it on one of the cards in the machine, but usually when you've got a bad card, it's either on or it's off. It either works or it doesn't work. It's usually not quite this intermittent. I'm going to find some more rugged tests to run this through. I'll be right back with you. Now here I've got AIBB loaded, Amiga Intuition based benchmarks. This is actually a pretty decent benchmarking program. And let's tell it this. And it's going to put it through some pretty serious tests here. So it's going to hit the chips pretty hard. It's going to hit the hardware pretty hard in these tests. And if I can get it to crash with this, maybe this will give us a clue of what's going on. Like right now, it's going to be hitting Denise pretty hard. It's going to be hitting Agnes pretty hard. And so far, so good. Not bad for a 68030, 25 megahertz. It's a reasonably good processor. Here's a fairly hard-hitting test too. This should be doing a fair amount and trying to hit the graphics chips and such. And so far, it's been working brilliantly. Here's a memory test. This should be hitting the RAM pretty hard. Let's try the good old beach ball test. Actually, not half bad. All things considered. Not quite as fast as my 68060, but it does the job. Okay, we are unable to get this thing to crash. So what I'd like to do next is I'm going to get disk speed loaded on here, and it will hit that SCSI drive on here really hard for a long time. And that's going to test and see if maybe we got an issue with the DMAC chip on here, with the SCSI chip on here. I've replaced the original Western Digital prototype SCSI chip that these things shipped with one of the AMDs. That's supposed to make it a little more solid, but we'll check and see if it's the hard drive interface that's causing the problem. Give me a second to get that loaded. Now what disk speed will do, I'm going to go ahead and start the test here. It's going to go ahead and run a series of tests. These take about 8 or 10 minutes to check how fast the hard drive is with various levels of caching, various ways of accessing the hard drive, and give you your relative speed of it. Now, while this is going on, you can see on my Zulu SCSI, it is just blinking away. And on my Amiga 3000 hard drive interface here, that should be blinking away when it starts the next test. There it goes, starting the next test. So you see it's hitting it pretty hard. So we'll give this about 10 minutes to do its thing, and we'll check back and see if it crashes the system. And so while I was waiting for this test to run, I was taking a look at the error codes, the error colors. And looks like yellow may actually be the 68K chip ran into an error condition, maybe while it was accessing the RAM, or maybe while it was just in its initial boot cycle, that the actual 68030 chip may have detected a problem and started, going into an error mode. Now, why I thought it was the ROM is because I'd had this problem with my original Amiga 3000 back in 97, 98, something like that. And it was bad ROMs, and it was a yellow flashing screen. So that stuck in my head. But it looks like it could be something on the 68000 bus. Also, some of the notes I read said it might be something on the expansion bus. So it looks like probably if this test passes okay, I should start pulling cards and seeing if there's a problem with one of the interface cards. If I can get it to boot reliably without some of the cards in there, that's going to be a pretty strong clue what's going on. Okay, so about an hour of testing this thing. I'm going in, running all kinds of utilities, running all kinds of software, running the software for my USB interface, running the software for my AD516, running the software for my VLab capture card. All of it reports absolutely fine. No yellow screens at all. Loading up Deluxe Paint. Load this, load that, load this, load that. Just about to come back on and say, golly jeepers gee willikers, everything seems to be working great. Tried one more thing, which is launching Final Writer. Yellow screen, flash, 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 dead. All right, I'm thinking it's a memory issue. I'm starting to lean that direction, that maybe I've got some bad memory in here. So I'm right now downloading the latest version of the Amiga test kit, and we're going to run that, and we're going to see if we can see any specific problems with the memory. Right now, it just got done revalidating the hard drive after the crash. C'est la vie, it's an Amiga. So, got the latest version of Amiga test kit, ran an extremely thorough memory test. I tested all 18 megabytes of memory. Then I test just the 2 megs of chip RAM. Then I test just the 16 megs of fast RAM. And then I test the whole thing again. Nothing. Absolutely perfect. Tested all the timers. They're fine. Tested the video. It's all fine. Amiga test kit says this thing is fine. I'm starting to suspect maybe it is one of the expansion cards in here. I don't think it's the AD516, because that's... Now that I think of it, when the AD516 is initially initialized, when you boot the system, it plays a little chime. It plays a chime kind of like the chime that plays when you first start up an Amiga 1000. So it does initialize at the very beginning. That could be the issue. That would stink, because I really like that card. I also suspect it could be the freeway USB card. As I mentioned in my freeway USB video, I believe I mentioned, on my Amiga 3000, that card will only work in Zorro 2 mode, in which case it works absolutely perfectly, as far as I can tell. If I try to use that in Zorro 3 mode, it chokes and it does not initialize properly, and I can never get USB to work. Maybe I'll try by taking out the freeway USB card first and running it through some more extreme tests and seeing if I can get it to crash. Getting frustrating, because it's just one of those things where it'll work for hours and be perfect, and all of a sudden, boom, yellow screen, flashy, flashy. Let's figure this out. Yellow, flashy, flashy flash with the USB Triton card taken out. In a way, that makes me feel better that it's not this card, because I really like having USB on my Amiga 3000, but it makes me sad thinking it could be one of my other cards. On to the next one, which will be, I'll take out the AD516. We'll see if anything changes. Interesting news. So I took out all of the Zorro cards, and it still would not run 100%. Took out the daughter board and cleaned all the contacts on it, which I've probably done 52 times in the last 3 years when I was putting this thing together and taking it apart. Started running perfectly stable with the Zorro cards out. I ran tons of software. I was playing mod files, running 5, 6, 7 programs at a time, creating gradients and Deluxe Paint and then Personal Paint while multitasking. Ran 1,000 diagnostics. Not a single yellow screen so far in hours since I've cleaned everything up. Looks like it may have been an issue with the actual daughter board, which kind of surprises me, because I've cleaned the thing multiple times. But wipe it down with rubbing alcohol and cleans it up. So really what I need to do is figure out why the connectors would oxidize so quickly. I mean, I haven't had the Amiga on in 3-4 months, this Amiga 3000, but really should not be getting oxidation like that where I can actually see it on the Q-tips. So I'm thinking what I probably need to do is get some of the cleaner. I've ran out of the contact cleaner that leaves an actual residue on the connectors to help prevent oxidation. Probably need to get a bottle of that and just clean everything up again. It's possible that using the rubbing alcohol for some reason promotes the oxidation, but I can't imagine why it would. That's pretty odd. But the fact is, the thing is running absolutely rock solid and stable now, and I couldn't be happier. I haven't seen the yellow screen in hours now. I started this at about 12:30, 1 o'clock this afternoon on a Sunday. It's now 8:22, and I've been working on it all day long and testing, and it seems solid. So I think I'm ready to go to the next step and plug in the little DMAC, but I think I'll do that in another episode because these episodes are only 10 minutes long. Huge thanks to my awesome patrons who've managed to stick with me through these lean times of making videos. So if you'd like to join in the fun, pop over to patreon.com/10mark. The link's in the description, and you too can join this illustrious group that you see scrolling across the screen. Thanks, everybody. So I'm really thankful the mystery got solved with my Amiga 3000. I was really worried about that because I kind of want to keep this machine set up for a while. Got some plans for it. Of course, I always say that and I always have plans. Next, we'll do the video on the little device, the little DMAC device, and I'll tell you where you can get it, where you can maybe order it or have one made for you. Less than $100 is what I paid for it. Please follow me on the socials. I'm not on X anymore. Don't follow me there. But Threads, Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, I'm still in all those same places. But until next time, this is Doug from 10 Minute Amiga Retrocast, signing out.